So here we are going to do chapter 9, the price puzzle, what market drives, and there are total 16 important question answers from the chapter. So let us see. First is, what is demand for product? The quantity of the product that people are willing and able to buy at a particular price depending on their need and preferences, seasons, trend, and income is called the demand for product. Okay, question number 2 is, explain the relationship between price and quantity demanded. So price and quantity demanded have an inverse relationship. A rise in price leads to a fall in quantity demanded. A fall in price leads to rise in quantity demanded. What is a demand curve? A demand curve is a graphical representation of demand. It shows the relationship between price and quantity demanded. It generally slopes downward from left to right. The downward slope shows the inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. Question number 4 is, what is market demand? Market demand refers to the total quantity of a commodity demanded by all consumers in a market at a particular price and during a particular period of time. Now, what is substitute and complementary goods? Substitute goods. Goods that can be used in place of each other is called substitute goods. If the price of one goods rises, the demand for its substitute increases. For example, tea and coffee, Pepsi and Coca-Cola. Complementary goods. Goods that are used together are called complementary goods. If the price of one goods rises, the demand for its complementary goods decreases. For example, car and petrol, pen and ink. Explain any 4 determinants of demand. So the 4 determinants are, first is related goods. Demand for a commodity is affected by the price of its substitute and complementary goods. Income of the consumer. When the income of the consumer increases, the demand for normal goods generally increases. Taste and preference of the buyer. Changes in taste, fashion, and preferences can increase or decrease demand. Seasonality and future price expectation. Demand changes according to seasons and consumer may buy more if they expect prices to rise in the future. What is individual and market supply? Individual supply, it refers to the quantity of a commodity that a particular seller offers. It is offered at different prices. For example, a seller supplies 1 kg at 50 rupees, 2 kg at 100 and 3 kg at 150 rupees. Okay. So here you can take any example. It may be a mango. Okay. Now market supply, it is the sum of all individual supplies in a market. It includes the supply of all sellers. It is measured at a particular price. Question number 8, explain the relationship between price and supply. Price and supply have a direct relationship. When the price rises, quantity supplied increases, and when the price falls, quantity supplied decreases. This is because higher prices provide greater profit opportunities and incentives to producers. Why does the supply curve slope upward? The supply curve slope upward from left to right. This is because there is direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. Producers are encouraged to supply more when prices increases. Therefore, higher prices lead to greater quantity supplied. What are the main factors that determine the supply of a commodity? So these are the main factors. First is price of related goods. The supply of goods is affected by the price of related goods. Producers may supply more of a good whose price is higher. Number of sellers in the market. When the number of sellers increases, if the number of sellers decreases, supply falls. Technology. Improved technology helps producers increase production and supply at lower cost. Future expectation. If sellers expect the price to rise in the future, they may reduce current supply and store the product for later sale. Now question number 11 is, what is market equilibrium? Market equilibrium is a situation where quantity is equal to quantity supplied. The price at which demand and supply are equal is called equilibrium price. The quantity bought and sold at this price is called equilibrium quantity. At equilibrium, there is no shortage or surplus of the commodity in the market. Question number 12. How is market equilibrium determined? So market equilibrium is determined by the interaction of demand and supply. The demand curve shows the quantity consumers are willing to buy. The supply curve shows the quantity sellers are willing to sell. and the point where the two curves intersect determines the equilibrium price and quantity. Question 13 is what happens when supply is greater than demand? When supply is greater than demand, there is excess supply or surplus. Sellers have more goods than consumers are willing to buy. These tend to cause the price to fall. The price falls until quantity demanded becomes equal to quantity supplied. Does market equilibrium exist in the real world? Yes, market equilibrium can exist in the real world when demand and supply becomes equal. At equilibrium, the quantity demanded equals the quantity supplied. However, real markets are constantly affected by changes in income, taste, technology, price, and expectation. Therefore, market equilibrium is often temporary and the equilibrium price and quantity may change over time. Explain the role of government in the economy. So, these are the 4 roles. Regulation of unfair practices. The government prevent unfair business practices such as black marketing, hoarding, cheating, exploitation of consumer. Protection of consumer. It makes rules and regulation to protect consumer from unsafe product and unfair trade practices. Provision of public goods. The government provide public goods such as roads, street light, parks, and public sanitation. Economic welfare. The government work to promote economic growth, social welfare, and fair distribution of resources. And the last question is explain the limitation of government intervention in the economy. So, price distortion. Government controls such as price ceiling and price floors may disturb the normal working of demand and supply. Reduce producer incentive. Excessive government control may reduce profit and discourage producers from increasing production. Compliance burden. Businesses may have to follow many rules and regulations which can increase their cost and administrative burden. Discourage innovation and entrepreneurship. Excessive regulation may reduce the motivation of entrepreneurs to take risks, invest, and introduce new ideas. So, these are the 16 question answers from the chapter that is the price puzzle what make the drives. Okay, so this much for this video. If you reach until the end watching the video, then thank you so much for watching the video.